Hi everybody, it's February 6, 2026. um, a lot of us think there's a separation between the biological and the spiritual, but in my musings or in my philosophy, I think there is no biology without spirituality, without the spiritual nature of things. And what happens is your brain may seem like organic mass that is completely biological, but your brain is a processor for what your spirit brings into this world. So your brain is like a nexus connecting a spiritual portion of yourself. It may not be the main portion, but it's a spiritual portion of yourself, and it connects it with the physical body, and intertwines it with your functionings and your stasis. You know, the processing and the management of your body. And I think that's a wonderful thing to consider, you know. And also, to put another note in it, is that your heart is basically in your mind. People think your heart is separate from your mind. You see it with the memes and everything, but your heart is in your mind, and it's like your emotions are like your heart's thoughts. You know, like your mind has thoughts, your heart has thoughts, and that's your emotions. And sometimes the emotions can confuse us. But when you merge biology with spirituality, you could remain centered if you are attuned in such a way. And that's basically what I try to practice on my own. And that gets me to thinking about conversational flaws. I personally have a problem with my temper sometimes, and I question myself. I know that I'm an understanding person. I know that I try to analyze my actions and my words and my thoughts and my emotions. How do I still have a problem with anger or with my temper? And that is what I mean by conversational flaws. In life, there are flaws that are persistent, and they don't go away by just understanding them one or two or three times. They keep on coming back, and so you have a conversational flaw, and so you kind of poke at it. And what I do with my temper is I try to see what sets me off. And so, for example, things that set me off is when I come with good intentions and somebody meets me with a rude facade or a rude front. And so sometimes if I'm in a particular mood that could set my temper off, and I ask myself, I have a conversation with my flaw, I'm like, why does this happen? And most of the time it happens because I'm not being patient. It's because I'm not inside of the situation. I'm kind of distracted. And by this distraction, I am susceptible to becoming angered a little bit. Even though I may not feel deeply about the situation, something sets me off because I'm not in the moment enough to understand why I'm feeling that way. So that is one example of a conversational flaw. It's like it comes back and you have to understand why it affects you that way. And so a second aspect of conversational flaw is we have to account for flaws of ours that we think are given to us by our peers, by our family, by our superiors at work. We have to come to terms with the fact that even though they may have uncovered that flaw, you know, these other outside people, they may have uncovered that flaw, but it is not them that gave it to you. It is something that was awakened inside of your mind's eye and you saw it when they were in your presence, when they were in a social situation with you. And so with this conversational flaw that somebody else kind of points out by their behavior around you is detaching from blame. You detach blame from yourself. You detach blame from the person that uncovered it in you. And you try to analyze it in such a way where you can make sense of it. And where you can make sense of it. And you do this by kind of getting a lay of the situation, a lay of the land. It may be in a relational status that you have with that person. Maybe you were hopeful that they were going to be a friend and they were going to be honest with you and that you were going to start a long-term relationship with you, but then something happens and it kind of spurned you when they turned out to be something that caused you anxiety or caused you certain kind of negative sensation emotionally wise. So to work through that with a conversation, with this sort of conversational flaw, is to just work through it on your own and try to find where you are responding to them with this sort of disappointment. And it's not saying that you don't need them or that you don't want to be friends with them, but trying to detach with the need to have the sort of imaginary relationship that you imagine with them, that you wanted with them. And so when you can detach from this spurned relationship, the flaw may subside and go away and you have an understanding of it and it won't cause as much as trouble. So detaching from your fantasy, detaching from your wishful thinking, detaching from your needing for your supposed needing emotion for this relationship is usually the answer that you're looking for. And the last thing I could say about conversational flaws is just getting used to the aspect of time internally. Internally, time is more of a smoky, more of a misty kind of thing. It's almost like when you have been asleep for, maybe it felt like you were asleep for a couple hours, but it's actually only 5 minutes. Sometimes the conversational flaws inside of us could seem like we've had them there our entire life, when actually it's only been a couple of days or maybe a week, but it seems like they've always been there. Or sometimes it could seem like a problem has been there a short amount of time, but it's actually been there your whole life, for example. So with the concept of time and certain flaws, you're going to feel like you are supposed to be in some spiritual station, some spiritual competency at certain times. But internally, time is not the factor that you should be concentrating on when you're working with flaws. It's not necessarily time, because time is more or less out of your control. So it's not the time that you have to worry about. It's the effects that it has on your experience at the moment or during your daily experience. So when you have these certain conversational flaws that are tied to time, releasing it from time, releasing it from supposed standards that may or may not apply to you, is a good thing to do. And some flaws that are connected to time that I can think about right now are I guess a kind of cliche one is isolation. Isolation is severely connected to time, because as time goes by and you've been alone for so long, you wonder how in the world could you remain in social isolation for this long when you're being a good person, when you're doing the right things, when you're making money, when you're providing for yourself, when you're helping your family out? How could this possibly be happening, this isolation, for so long? And so once you detach isolation from the concept of time, it becomes a more healthier approach to dealing with isolation. And it may not go away immediately, it may not go away in a convenient amount of time, but once you detach it from time, you are relieving about a substantial amount of anxiety and suffering from it. So I hope this helps. Thanks.